Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Just do a couple announcements before we actually dive into the session. And thank you so much for deciding to spend your Tuesday morning with us. Today's session is Mastering Dispatcher Workspace live on ServiceNow. Super excited. We have demos planned for you, experts to answer your questions. So this is going to be a very exciting one, and a couple of housekeeping items before we jump into it. I just wanted to go over some things. Please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screens to ask any questions that you may have throughout today's event. We'll try to answer them at the end or through the sessions. We have experts, so that's wonderful. Also, we have the reactions button. If you can give a quick reactions, just to let us know. I already saw someone use it, so that's great. You can use the reaction button throughout the session along with the Q&A during today's presentation. We'll also be recording and sharing this session. So in case you want to share with your colleagues, you want to watch back, all of that would be great. And then after this webinar, you'll be prompted to fill out a short survey. We put this webinars together for you guys, and so we want to hear back from you on what is being done right, what is, what you want us to tighten up on, what we can do to make it better. So we want to hear all of that for you. Thank you so much for all your feedbacks. And this is our safe harbor slide. To summarize what it says, you may see or hear some forward-looking statements today, and we would just want to implore you to make any purchasing decisions based on anything in today's webinar, and we will want you to seek clarification before making those decisions. All right. My name is Salmat Oladipupa. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'm Senior Outbound Product Manager for Field Service Management here at ServiceNow. A little context, I have been in the field myself as a field service technician before switching over to be a field service manager and now a product manager for this amazing product that I've used in the past. So I'm really excited to be putting together this webinar and constantly drilling into the features that we are building here at ServiceNow. And today I'm joined by my very, very esteemed colleagues, Kevin Joseph, our principal product manager working on our dispatcher workspace that we're actually going to be talking about today, and our senior director of inbound product management, Nikki Narang. Both of them bring such a huge wealth of experience to field service management, especially the topic that we're covering today. So please leverage them and ask them questions. In the sense that we're not able to get back to you, because we're going to take the questions in the Q&A session so that we don't interrupt the flow of the webinar. But if we are not able to get back to you today in the Q&A chat, we would definitely be following up with you via email. So now we're going to our series agenda. So this is a part of a broader learning series around field service management. Today, we're going to be focusing on the Mastering Dispatcher Workspace. We have covered a couple of things before now. We've talked about introduction. We've kind of been layering a foundation to field service management, and now we're on Mastering Dispatcher Workspace. You can catch all of this on our YouTube page. I put all the links in the chat so that you can go and reference them. And then upcoming in the series, please join us September to talk about what's new in our Zurich release. We have the Zurich release and Q3 store as well. We'll be talking about territory and capacity planning in October, contractor management as well. So many people have asked questions about contractor management as well as workforce optimization. So we're very, very happy to be bringing you those topics. And to be able to join the sessions, you can scan the barcode to view not just FSM sessions, even they go beyond FSM. We cover a wide range of topics to help speed up deployment and drive adoption and unlock more value across the platform. So you're going to be able to hear from product experts, connect with fellow professionals, and essentially leave with practical takeaways. So please scan the QR code. You see actually also a little bit of announcement. Our Field Service Getting Started series is turning into an academy. Throughout this year, we will still be bringing you the sessions on a monthly basis, but as we progress into next year, we're switching to every other month so that we can do a better, we can drill deeper into those topics that we've covered foundationally this year. So that's going to be exciting. All right, last announcement before we dive into the session. So we're looking to gather, if you've been enjoying field service management, we're looking to gather peer reviews. We've announced this a couple of times. Please make sure that you go to the QR code on the screen. It's just 10 minutes to write a review, and we are offering Amazon $25 gift card. All right. Now let's dive into the agenda for today's topic. So today we're going to be covering the dispatcher workspace. And I think it's very important that we drill into meeting the challenges of the dispatcher and why even this, amazing feature. We'll do a quick tour of the dispatcher workspace, show you some features, and then go into smart scheduling. Because one of the core aspects of being a dispatcher is scheduling. So we want to show you smart scheduling, the different forms of scheduling, manual scheduling, dynamic scheduling, interactive scheduling, schedule optimization, and what more fun than giving you also a live demo of these different scheduling methods. So today is going to be an exciting one. I'm super excited. And then again, we have Kevin and Nikki, so exciting. All right, let's go into meeting the challenge of the dispatcher. Before I talk about the challenge of the dispatcher, I just want to ask a real quick question. Do you or your organization use Dispatcher Workspace? Is this your first time hearing about the Dispatcher Workspace? We want to hear everything about it in the chat. You can talk to your peers about it. Um, you know, all right. Anyone? Is this your first time seeing the dispatcher workspace? Okay, okay, first time. All right. Anybody else? First, okay, perfect. All right, then this is fun. This is fun then. We'll talk through the different features we have in the dispatcher workspace, and hopefully this is not going to be your last time. I personally, as a former dispatcher, I sleep on the dispatcher workspace. All right, let's go into the dispatcher and talk about their challenges. So think about the dispatcher like an air traffic controller, right? Their job is to assign the right work to the technician, but they have to do it at the right time while also juggling, they have to juggle SLAs, technician availability, and real world changes. And they also need to be able to communicate updates to technicians and customers constantly. So the dispatcher is a really high stakes role, and the tools that they use can break or make their customer satisfaction and customer experience. These are the KPIs that the dispatchers live and breathe every day. So SLA adherence is super important to them. Travel time reduction, technician utilization, first time fix rate is one of the most important things that we constantly hear about from our customers. Because you want the technicians to go to the store one time and not have to go back again because of cost. And then we have assignment speed as well. If any of these metrics slip up, the customer experience takes, like I said, because of the first time visit rate, customer experience tends to take a hit and then costs go up. And that's why it's so important that our dispatchers have, that direct line of effectiveness to their business outcome. All right, so one of the biggest challenges customer dispatchers currently face is visibility. Dispatchers are expected to be able to balance SLAs, travel costs, and team productivity. And oftentimes they don't have those metrics at their fingertip, right? And it makes it very hard for them to be able to spot inefficiencies and then correct said inefficiencies. Additionally, there is constant need for vigilance. So schedules change in due time. Maybe there's cancellation from a customer, there's delays, or a technician is even ill and they're not able to go to their job site. And if the dispatchers don't have the right tools, they can then spend most of their days trying to firefight, the change instead of planning for the other jobs. And then finally, we have the lack of a unified interface. So dispatchers often have to toggle between multiple systems and screens. Maybe it's taking calls, maybe it's having to go on different pages. And those also add to the time. They lead to wasted time and just generally like an increased chance of error. So in reality, we've seen dispatchers being asked to operate in fragmented environments, right? And that's where we have this wonderful tool, the dispatcher workspace comes in. It brings everything that a dispatcher needs into one single modern interface. So we're talking all the tools that they need. So on the right, we have the task list with all of the pending dispatches. Each work order is visible. You work order task, excuse me. You have the customer details, location, priority. So dispatchers always can know what they have in their queue. And at the bottom, we have the schedule view. So you show the technicians availability, their assignments, the capacity in real time, and it gives them even much more context into making the best decision. And then we have, of course, the map view, which really just provides geographic insights into the technician's location. You can see the task locations, customer sites, and it's really, really critical for reducing those travel times, which then improves efficiency in the way that jobs are being handled. So really, by bringing all of these elements together, the maps, the schedules, and the task detailed in one unified workspace, we're seeing dispatchers spend less time searching for information and more time optimizing service delivery. All right, let's go quickly into my dispatcher workspace where I would show you, you know, the tools and the features in there. But before I go into my dispatcher workspace, I just wanted to ground us in a real world example. This example we'll be going throughout today, right? So we have our customer, Cool Air Pro. They're an HVAC company in California, and they manage thousands of service calls a month. In peak summer, delays and inefficiencies used to overwhelm them. And so now we're looking to optimize those for them with smart scheduling and the dispatcher workspace. So by using the dispatcher workspace and smart scheduling, they want to cut assignments, improve their first time fix rate, as well as improve productivity. So what I'll show you, just in case you wanted to watch this back and go through by yourself, we'll log into our CSM FSM workspace as a dispatcher, navigate to the dispatcher workspace, and I'll show you some features. I'll show you the task list and the filters, real-time get view, the map, show you the task on the map, show you the agent location on the map as well, overtime visibility, extend flag, our new time zone view, as well as assignment assistant. All right, 1 second. Nikki, do you mind helping me confirm my screen?
Right now, seeing your background, your beautiful trees.
Okay. All right.
Now we're seeing your browser.
Perfect. All right. So logging in, I'm going to impersonate my dispatcher here. Don't tell him that I'm impersonating him. Let's be between you and I. Okay. So we'll go into our CSM FSM configurable workspace. And on this, is it bold enough? Let me increase that so you can see this icon here represent our dispatcher workspace. Once we go into the dispatcher workspace, ooh, it's cruising from here. And as we mentioned, since we're working with our customers in California, I have my territory set up here for the 5 states that our customer is in California, and we can select all of them here to add them as a view to the chart. So that's our first feature that I'm showing the territory button to select what territory you want to visualize. And as you can see, we now have all of them on the board. How cool. Now let's go from here. We have this feature, a task list feature. When I was a dispatcher myself, every single morning when I joined my calls, there were some very, very important things that I had to absolutely check on. P1s that just came in, P1s that have been pending since last night, P2s that are in here, preventive maintenance jobs that we have to assign or flag tasks. This task filter is very, very useful to be able to just immediately come and grab those tasks that you monitor oftentimes. And you can create your new filter. We're not going to do that right now, but you can create your own new filter. Very, very easy to do. And then we move on to add resources. This is actually one of the new features that we will be discussing in our September 17 What's New in Zurich call. You can add agents from another territory without having to make changes to those territories. So that's the fun part about it. And then we move on to schedule. This is what we want to see on our charts. What do we want to see on the screen? Now we're currently seeing the schedule. We see all the agents, we see their work hours, and we see the tasks. We can move into a hybrid where we will see both the schedule and the map. And then we can go even deeper and go into just our map. And we can go to San Francisco where we see our tasks, we see our agents. Um, and we see the priority also of our task. So that's super cool. Now, layered onto our map, we can go deeper into what we want to see on our map. Do we want to see the task only? So now we're seeing our tutorial task here at San Francisco Site 1. We're seeing a P1 at Site 11. Or do we want to see our agents only? Where are my agents? Here. So that's super fun. See all of our agents here, and you can go into any territory and take a look at this. All right, moving on to the other side, we have the refresh button. If you make any changes, easily just refresh. You don't have to reload your web browser. And then we have settings here. Not going to go too deep into this, but the settings allow you to be able to control the things that you see on your task list, on your calendar, your resources, events, metric. My one tip would be to play with it whenever you get the chance. Just go into the dispatcher workspace and play with the settings. You will be able to learn how most of this interacts with one another. All right, going then into, okay, no, our resource filter, and then we have new event. You can program a new event. Say one of your agents calls out sick on the day emergency. You can have that in here. And lastly, we have schedule optimization, which we'll be covering today. So from here, you can run your intraday schedule optimization. All right. Don't know. I don't think I'm missing anything. Nikki, but I don't think I missed anything really, so I'll just
Uh,
go on.
Hey, Sam, I think the only thing there was a comment in the chat. I think we just clarified this is all out of the box
Yes,
instant. Well, the question was, is this Yokohama versus Zurich? If you can, call out maybe what's unique to Zurich versus Yokohama. Like I think Kevin responded in the chat that the add agents feature is unique to Zurich. I believe the way we're seeing the time zones is unique to Zurich as well. Just as much as we can help give that distinction between Yokohama and Zurich will be helpful.
thank you. That's a good call out. Yes, and yes, our ad agent is new to Zurich. The time zone also is new to Zurich. And when we go to assignment assistance that I will show in the scheduling, that would also be new to Zurich. So thank you for that call out. All right, now I'm going to go back to my slides. Uh, I want to, okay. Oh, sorry, I'm not sure what is going on. Okay, Nikki, are you seeing my slides?
Feature deep dive, smart scheduling.
Perfect, yes. All right. So when it comes to scheduling, there isn't a one size fits all approach for everything. Here at FSM, we give you flexibility across four main methods depending on your business needs and your maturity. So there's a manual scheduling. This is classic drag and drop. A dispatcher assigns work based on their knowledge of who's available and nearby. And it's really good for smaller teams, or maybe there's an emergency, or maybe there's human judgment that's needed at the time. And then we have the interactive. Here, the system kind of helps out a little bit. Well, not a little bit, but the dispatchers can use tools like auto assign or assignment assistance to find the best candidates, but they will still have to approve before confirming. So we want to think of it as a decision support mechanism. And then we have automatic with dynamic scheduling. Tasks are automatically assigned as soon as they come in or when they're sitting in pending state. So it can also reshuffle tasks when an event happens, like maybe a technician calls in sick. And then we have our optimization. This is the most advanced one. It uses AI-driven policies to optimize across the whole schedule, whether it's a nightly batch run for future planning or whether it's real-time intraday optimization to adjust things as they change. And the beauty here about all of the scheduling methods is that you don't have to choose just one. A lot of organizations use a mix of manual for unique jobs, dynamic for routine demand, and then schedule optimization for larger efficiencies. And then it brings us to which one should you use, right? And this is a really big question. Which scheduling method is right for you? The answer really depends on two things, the maturity as well as what value are you trying to unlock. Because at the point of entry, we have dynamic scheduling. Very easy to set up, rule-driven, and perfect for for getting work auto-assigned at speed. And then as you grow, you can layer in intraday schedule automation. So the system reacts when changes happen during the day without necessarily having to wait for the dispatcher. And then beyond that, we have batch optimization. So that gives forward planning power, really rebalancing workload, maybe overnight or across the week. And at the most advanced level, we have the intraday optimization. So the system continuously evaluates real world changes and reshuffles in real time. So this delivers the highest value, but also it requires the most maturity to set up and manage. But the most important takeaway here is that you don't have to jump straight into intraday optimization, right? As we said in the previous slide, customers start with dynamic scheduling and then they move up the ladder as their needs go and their complexity as well. Now, before I go into dynamic scheduling and schedule optimization, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the scenario question, two of them. And you don't have to give me like a solid answer now. I would like to hear them in the chat, but as we go further, your decision might change. So we have an emergency AC failure at a hospital. It's 4 p.m. on a weekday. The ER wing AC is down. SLA is 2 hours, but we have 4 hours to restore power and our nearest available technician is 25 minutes away. But there's another, nearest qualified tech is 25 minutes away. But there's another technician who's 10 minutes away, doesn't have the right certification, and the facility requires background cleared techs only. What method do you think you're going to use in this scenario? Let's sit on that one. And then the other one, preventive maintenance across 200 retail stores next week, between Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. store hours, 200 tasks across 6 metros like we showed. And our goal here is to minimize travel time and overtime. We want to balance the workload as well, and we want to keep their daily cap at 6 jobs per technician. Which scheduling method do you think you're going to use? Again, you don't have to give me a solid answer now. As we go through, you would learn more. All right, let's talk about manual scheduling. So manual scheduling is exactly what it sounds like. The dispatcher assigns tasks based on their knowledge of the skills and availability. It's really perfect for smaller teams, emergencies, or pilot program, but it's not necessarily scalable and it can be slow at times. Imagine having to manually assign 100 jobs. So there's that. And an example of manual scheduling is Marie, as we give in our scenario, she got the same day emergency call for a service nearby, and she has to assign that over the phone. Now let's go into dynamic scheduling. Dynamic scheduling is more rule-based. So the system automatically assigns tasks to qualified and available technicians based on their skills, their territories, and their calendars. And this is perfect for mid to large teams where you're really looking for that speed and you want to reduce that manual effort, but you still need dispatchers to be able to kind of uh, gauge for exceptions or like oversights, right? Dynamic scheduling requires accurate data, and if the calendar or the skills or territories aren't set up properly, we might find results not being optimal. So we want to be really cognizant of those rules. Now, dynamic scheduling can be triggered manually or automatically. So the manual triggering is when dispatcher selects multiple tasks in the dispatch queue and they use the auto assign option. I'll show you that. And this is used to run for a selected, number of tasks or agent recommendations for each task at the present for dispatcher confirmation. And then we have the automatic triggering, which can happen immediately when the filter conditions are satisfied, or at regular intervals as defined by your system administrator. So dynamic scheduling can be configured in a few different ways depending on how much control that you want the dispatchers to have versus how much automation you want the system to be able to handle. So you can do auto plus immediately enabled. This is the most automated option. As soon as a work or that task meets the condition, it instantly assigns to the right technician. It's really great for high volume environments where speed, we're seeing work orders coming super fast. And then we have auto enabled and immediate dispatch. In this setup, the tasks are grouped into a batch and assigned at scheduled intervals. And then we have both disabled. In this case, the dispatcher manually triggers dynamic scheduling when they choose. So depending again on your business need, you can go fully hands-off, or you can do semi-automated, or just keep the dispatchers in the driver's seat, but always you can always refer back to dynamic scheduling for that support of intelligent recommendation. Now we're going to take a look at a live demo of the dynamic scheduling. First, I'll go into my console as my admin, navigate to field service configuration, and show the proper assignment method, in this case, dynamic scheduling. And then we'll go into our dynamic scheduling configuration. I'll show you the task filters, the task ordering rules, and the how to enable the frequency as well. So I don't come back to my slide, then I'll log in as my dispatcher, and I'll create a new work order task for automatic assignment, just to show you how it just moves immediately to auto assign. And then we go into the dispatcher workspace, we'll select 4 or more work order tasks, click auto assign and confirm assignment, and I'll also show you the assignment assistance. All right. All right, we already have here. So going back in as our system administrator, Kevin, are you seeing my screen, my browser?
Yes, I'm seeing your browser.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so all here, field service. All right, I'm just looking for my configuration. Okay, perfect. All right, and here we have the assignment method, and we are currently using dynamic scheduling. So we have options here to use auto assign, use a workflow manually, and using dynamic scheduling. For the purpose of this demo, we will be using dynamic scheduling. Now, going into our dynamic scheduling, configuration, we can, excuse me, going to assignment method, I will, okay. So here we have all the conditions for what we want, how we want the scheduling, the dynamic scheduling to go through, right? Our state is pending dispatch, substate is not on auto assign. And then we'll click on auto assign frequency immediate. Let's save that. Perfect. Now, what we've just done is that any work that fulfills all of these conditions gets to be automatically assigned to a dispatcher immediately. So going back into our dispatcher workspace as our dispatcher, we have a work order task that's already created, so we can just use one of those um, at the location here. Save. Oh, that was a work order task, sorry. All right. Save the is added. Oh, I will just create a new one. All right. Oh, it's always so fun that your demo doesn't, it's on demo day, you're like, oh wow, interesting. You will betray me on demo day. Okay, let's take a breather. Let's take a breather and do this again. All right, so create a new work order task. Just checking to see everything is great. Everything looks good on my end. Save this. Okay, where are my tasks? Using the wrong one. Hmm, okay. I'm not sure why my tasks are not opening here, but I apologize. Now we can see actually my task have been two of them. Oh, thank God. All of them. I don't know why that happened. All of them were immediately, the task was created and they were immediately assigned to Janice Taylor. Yeah, that was what I was trying to show you guys. Okay, but going back into the dispatcher workspace as well and selecting all of my cities. Let's select my cities and bring back our task list. All right, clicking here, 1, 2, 3. I can use the auto assign here, and we will see that it has given us recommendations on how it would go ahead to assign this using the auto assignment, and we'll confirm that right here. Perfect. Now our tasks have been added to the schedule view. All right, so again, as we mentioned in the tour of the dispatcher workspace, assignment assistance is a new feature that's coming to the Q3 store. So I can use assignment assistance as well. And the fun thing about assignment assistance, it kind of shows you how they match. So if we click on assignment assistance here, you see that it's, let me enlarge my screen. You see that it's giving us available resources, Janice and Alicia. It's telling us the start time, end time, travel time, and how they match. And you can sort here by the distance, you can sort by skills, parts, earliest time, as well as ended. So if I select Janice, we would save the assignment for Janice. Perfect. So the task has now been assigned to Janice Taylor. All right, that is the dispatcher workspace dynamic scheduling auto assign. Back to my PowerPoint. Kevin, let me know if you can see my PowerPoint.
Yes, I see a slide demo environment.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, now let's go into schedule optimization. So schedule optimization is where it gets really powerful and it looks across all of our tasks and resources and assigns work to maximize your business goals. So like minimizing travel time, maximizing utilization, as well as protecting SLAs, right? So the engine schedule optimization as an engine helps our customers to be able to manage day of scheduling with precision, especially when their plans change. So whether it's a huge spike in jobs, maybe after a storm for our company, Cool Air Pro, or they have a tight SLA that needs to be prioritized, or an agent calls in sick, this capability dynamically adjusts assignments to keep things in track. So we'll see schedule optimization in action through three main use cases: large scale task distribution, SLA driven, uh, SLA driven, uh, SLA driven prioritization, shift awareness, and re-optimization. Kevin, real quickly, on my screen, are you seeing the demo or my schedule optimization?
I'm seeing the demo environment. Yeah. Do you have a slide with the details?
I do. This is a slide.
Okay. Now I
Okay.
see it.
Thank you. So we'll see the action through three main use cases: large-scale task distribution, SLA prioritization, and shift-aware reoptimization. And the end result we want is better SLA compliance, less wasted time, and higher productivity in the field. So really, I wanted to talk about the core concept also of schedule optimization, right? When we talk about schedule optimization to drive measurable business value, there are four core concepts that work together. We have our optimization goals. First, you tell the system what matters most to your business. Do you want to minimize travel time? Do you want to maximize the number of jobs per tech? Do you want to hit every SLA window? Do you want to reduce the costs like overtime and contractor usage? And our priorities help us to shape how the schedule is built. And then we have the constraint-based scheduling. So the next is the system respects the non-negotiables. So hard constraints might be that our technician availability, certifications, or part requirements. And then soft constraint might be things like preferred time windows. And these rules really just make sure that the assignments are not just efficient, but they're also really feasible. And then we have batch optimization. This is the planning tool. It usually runs on a schedule. You can do nightly, you can do on a basis. You can look at tomorrow's, you can look at next week's load. It really just helps to balance across all available resources. So you're starting the day with the most efficient plan possible. And then we have the intraday optimization. This is the agility level. As our task unfolds, things change. So maybe a job runs longer than expected, maybe a customer cancels, or a technician calls out sick. Intraday optimization helps to help to rebalance the schedule so that technicians can stay productive. And then when we go into the schedule optimization workflow, here's a breakdown of how it works behind the scene. So we have first the task intake. The system will pull in all the eligible work. It could be new work orders, overdue jobs, or jobs that we even flagged for reoptimization, right? And then constraint evaluation. Next, the system is going to evaluate and assess all those constraints that we've put together, like maybe the SLAs, maybe the technician availability that they have to have a particular skill, a geography, travel time, and really any other business rule that guides how we want our tasks to be assigned. And then we have resource matching. So when we have these constraints in place, the system then identifies the best fit technicians for each one of these tasks. Not necessarily who's free, not always who's currently free, but it's always about who is right for the job based on those constraints that we have previously defined. And then we have optimization engine execution. This is where the actual optimization runs. The tasks are sequenced and assigned based on priorities, travel time, utilization targets as well. And then we review it and apply. Dispatchers can review the optimized plan and make adjustment if they need to, if they still want to make some changes. And then we can also re-optimize. So because things change often, as we've discussed, like emergencies come up and a technician calls out, or there's travel delay because of traffic, which is very unpredictable, we allow for re-optimization at any point to just allow for operations to continue to run. So at the end of the day, schedule optimization is an end-to-end workflow that brings a lot of structure, a lot of intelligence, and then also that flexibility to the way that the dispatchers and the way that generally our work is being assigned. And these are the key concepts of schedule optimization. We will talk about them in the coming slides. We have the who is, being assigned, what is being assigned, where is it being assigned, when should we assign it, and how should we assign it as far as schedule optimization. So first thing I want to talk about is our scheduling attributes. And our key things here with scheduling attributes are our task filters and travel estimates. Scheduling attributes, they shape the optimization because we can define the data points used by the optimizer, right? We have our task filters that allows us to be able to scope what exact task we want to optimize, we want to apply those policies to. So for instance, you might want to filter only SLA sensitive tasks in San Diego, or just even only tasks in San Diego so that they're prioritized. And then we have our travel estimate. Travel estimates are very, very critical because if travel times are not accurate, the optimizer cannot realistically build a realistic schedule, right? And so you can set up to use a straight line travel estimate or use a provider to ensure that the drive times reflect actual real traffic and route. So in short, we have our task filters, they keep the policies sharp, and then we have accurate travel estimates that makes optimization really solid and trustworthy because of that travel time that they're calculating. Once you've set up your attributes, you define your policies. This is where we're telling our schedule optimization how to optimize within a given scope. So are we doing a territory? Are we doing a region? Are we doing assignment group? And then we have two parts that make up a policy. We have the constraints and we have our objective. Constraints are, think of them as like must have, right? A task simply, if you set up constraints, a task won't be assigned until those constraints are met. So for instance, we're saying the technicians must have the mandatory skills or assignment, or we're saying they cannot exceed travel time limit. We're setting a travel time limit for our technicians. And then we have our objectives. Our objectives are our priorities. They don't necessarily block assignments, but they influence how the optimizer choose among, so many different options. So for instance, you might want to prioritize minimizing travel or maximizing utilization or maximizing that every agent is spread out for the day and they're not too overbooked or underbooked. And so together, constraints keeps us compliant and realistic, and objective kind of guides the system to make the smartest trade-offs. So the balance is what really lets our policies be able to support multiple scenarios, like a standard day or maybe an emergency for a storm response, or we have a VIP customer escalation. Now let's go into our objective. Our objectives are, well, we already talked about our objective, but I wanted to give some examples. So maximize SLA adherence, finish a task before the deadline, or we want to balance workload, like I mentioned. So make sure that tasks are spread evenly by hours or by count. We want to penalize or have penalty for under or over skilled efficient assignments, and we want to minimize overtime as well. And then we have the constraints, which are the guardrails, right? So examples, we want to make sure only qualified agents with the right inventory can be scheduled. Travel rules, maybe you want to set like a limit radius or time between stops so that those routes stay realistic. And then we have agent preference. We want to honor preferred or excluded agents. But in short, as a whole, our constraints keep scheduling very, very realistic and compliant as well with your business rules. Now let's talk about batch optimization. Batch optimization is about planning ahead. So batch optimization runs on a schedule. Oftentimes most customers use nightly, but you can set it up as you want. There's a time you can set that up. It then automatically assigns to rebalance work across a defined window. Like maybe your assignment horizon is 5 days, so it would take work across, that defined window and optimize them, right? And our key benefits to batch optimization that is so that once you log in as a dispatcher every single morning, you can start each day with the best possible plan and you're not having to manually look through your assignments, right? And then it's also policy driven. So it honors all of those constraints, business rules that we talked about, your skills, your travels, and SLAs. And it's not really intrusive. So you're not going to be affecting today's schedule or disrupting today's schedule, right? Because it looks beyond that. And then, of course, it's very flexible. So you can run it by territories, you can run it by region, you can run it by assignment group, right? The best use for batch optimization is mid to long-term planning. So, for example, you're planning next week's workload or you're having to rebalance tasks nightly across multiple technicians, or you want to even fold new work order tasks into another day's schedule, right? So the best way I like to think of batch optimization is that nightly reset button when you go to do like your nightly reset, so that the next morning when you wake up, you're starting with an optimized plan. So because of how flexible our batch optimization is, I want to talk about the batch that you have to define, right? A batch optimization is so flexible. You can decide when it runs. You can decide what scope should it cover. So you can schedule multiple batches even, right? So each batch will have its own start and end time. For example, you can run one batch every night at midnight for tomorrow's work, and then and that's going to be like your daily, like nightly routine, nightly set. And then you have another batch for every Sunday to balance the week ahead. You can also batch based on region, territories, or assignment group so that you're optimizing where exactly is necessary. So in short, batch gives a lot of control and it sets a good rhythm, and the system then does the heavy lifting. And then we have our scope. A scope defines what the optimizer looks at and where it applies to. So we have the qualifiers. Our qualifiers set what region do you want to optimize. So for instance, do you want to, and from our example, we have California company, right? Do we want to just do the entire California? Do we want to do only San Diego, Cupertino, whatever the case may be? We have our assignment horizon offset. This tells the system how far into the future to start assigning tasks. So for example, don't touch today, start from tomorrow, right? If you leave it 0, it starts immediately. And then we have our assignment horizon range that defines the window of time that the optimizer can plan for. So for example, assign task only within 3 days, right? And if you change that, you can say only within the next 1 week, right? So our scope gives us that flexibility to be able to run multiple scopes side by side. So for example, you can run one scope for urgent work, you can run a scope for SLA-driven task, and you can run another one for planned work. So scope makes our work, makes optimization much more targeted, and then it's not just like a one size fits all. Now we go into our intraday optimization, where batch optimization plans ahead. Intraday optimization kind of keeps the day on track. So it's working in real time and it's triggered by events. So maybe a new task is coming in, a technician is finishing or canceling. The system continuously reassign based on current conditions. So the ideal is for it to handle unexpected. So let's say a technician goes to a site and they finish 10 minutes early, the system can immediately find the next best task nearby for them. Maybe a customer cancels and that freed slot can get reallocated immediately or a new urgent task comes in. So intraday optimization really gives dispatchers that confidence that even when conditions are changing, their schedules don't have to change and they can stay efficient. So for intraday optimization, we have the events and the event types. So event types define what the optimizer should kick in. So they're the triggers that tell the system to reevaluate schedules and assignments. So an example is whenever we get a new high priority task that gets logged, or whenever we get a task that's canceled and that frees up time, like time slots, or we have a technician finishes early or runs late, or maybe another technician takes off unexpected. They have to go attend to an emergency at home. So instead of having to wait for a dispatcher to notice, our system can respond really quickly to ensure that schedules always reflect the real world changes without constantly having to do manual intervention. All right, so let's take a look at a live demo of schedule optimization. So first I'll go in as our admin and walk you through how these come together. I'll navigate to schedule optimization for batch optimization and show the batch scope. And then we're running out of time, so I might not be able to show you the intraday optimization today, but I will still love to show you the batch optimization. All right, let's go into our Kevin. Are we seeing my
I, I'm seeing a browser right now. Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you. All right, so to show you my schedule optimization, I want to show you a couple things that I find very useful to visualize how these changes are being made, right? And I've set up this dashboard here that has my task in San Diego. So I'm keeping my schedule optimization for today in San Diego. We have 31 work at task in San Diego, and our work at task are not currently assigned, all 31 of them, right? That we'll see travel time does say 7 hours, and we'll see how that changes as well. So now we go into just keep that 31 work on that task there aside at the back of your mind, as well as the travel time. And then we'll go into a schedule optimization scope batches, excuse me. All right, so fast run for San Diego. I already set it up before this call so that we don't have to do all of that. Excuse me. All right. So we'll open here to see how our scope is defined. Am I clicking it? Mhm. All right, let me refresh. I need to tell my internet, the people who provide internet for my house, like, oh God, isn't that fun? Hmm. Okay, let me try the other screen. Maybe that works. Do I get a discount if my internet is always messing up? I think I do. I actually think I do. Maybe a 1 month off. No, I really wanted to show you guys this. That's not fun. That is not fun. Please pray to, let's beg for my internet to be back, please. Ugh, shucks. No. Okay, let me try to come here again. All right. I'm cheating it by logging, like by trying to go through another. No, the internet is just bad. All right. What I was going to show is how I have defined the different batches within different scopes. And as you can see, actually from here, I have three different batches for San Diego. The first one is just our regular, batch to run to minimize tasks and make sure that all of our tasks are assigned properly to our agent. I have a San Diego batch also for efficiency. I have defined different efficiencies for different agents. And so I'm like taking those efficiencies, can you assign, so my efficiencies value was primarily for break fix. And I'm seeing some agents being able to work different hours. So maybe Janice can do 4 hours for the same job that Alicia is able to do for 2 hours. So based on that, we want to run our schedule optimization. And then the final batch is our San Diego P1, P2 prioritization, which simply means that we want to make sure that our P1s and P2s are scheduled first before then considering the other work orders. So unfortunately, this is the issue with live demos is, uh, you just can't control when the internet decides to behave or not. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We have 3 more minutes left, so I don't want to take our time to keep battling with this. So coming back to our SharePoint then. All right, Kevin, can you confirm we're seeing my scenario question?
Yes, I'm seeing a scenario question slide.
Perfect. All right. So based on what we've learned today, I really want you guys to tell me in the chat that first scenario of the emergency AC failure at a hospital, and we have 4 hours to restore power, 2 hours response time. What scheduling method would you consider using at this time? I'm going to look at the chat. The demo god is never, I know, it's never on our side. All right, what scheduling method would you consider for this scenario? Nobody? Yes, we can use dynamic scheduling for hospital. Yes, 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 we can use dynamic scheduling. Dynamic is fine. Yes, we can use dynamic. We can use even manual scheduling. But yes, dynamic scheduling is the most optimal one that we would lean into. And then the next one is preventive maintenance, 200 retail stores next week, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m., 6 p.m. store hours. What would we use? Batch. Correct, yes. Well, let me not say correct like anything is wrong, scenario, but yes, the most optimal will be batch. Correct. I said correct again. Okay, well, we have 1 more minute. I'm super grateful to have had all of you guys on this call today, learning, asking questions. Thank you to Nikki and Kevin for, supporting on this. Does anybody have anything else? If we're not able to get to your questions in the chat, we will follow up with you for sure, via email. And we're super grateful for having you here today. Hopefully, I can do another section to really show dynamic scheduling. I think that's a good idea to do another session to show I said dynamic scheduling, schedule optimization. Thank you everyone for joining. Super grateful to have you here, and I will see you September 17 for the What's New in Zurich webinar. Thank you.